fuel tanks to push trucks, track food to track prep, slide jobs to the cushion. This is Winged Nation on MRN.com.
Presented by Hercules Tire.
Now your hosts for Winged Nation. He just can't stay away from any dirt track within a 3-hour radius. Steve Post. And she loves her tail tanks. Kendra Jacobs.
Well, hello again. It is, I believe, true to both statements.
Yes.
True to
Yes.
both statements. Welcome in. Maybe we'll just keep right on moving and let that one slide a little bit. It is MRN Wing Nation presented by Hercules Tire. We are so glad you joined us. Kendra Jacobs and Steve Post here, and it is our favorite time of the week talking sprint car racing, and we have a great lineup for you here today. David Gravel going to join us, fresh off from that big win, first win of the season.
I believe it was the show last week when we both said
It won't be
a
long.
win is coming for him and Jason Johnson, and he proved us right.
Didn't take long, absolutely. Danny Dietrich did a lot of racing on Saturday and some wheeling his truck in between. We'll talk to Danny. And the great Ed Lynch Jr. retiring from the sport, so we're going to talk to Ed as well. And we are glad you joined us here on Wing Nation. Alongside, as is always the case, Kendra Jacobs. And Kendra, we're going to talk to Danny Dietrich about it. But from the fan perspective, from the reaction perspective, from the our Twitter machine blew up perspective, the folks in Pennsylvania again proved how spoiled rotten they really are.
Yeah, I mean, having two shows in one day is such a great problem to have, right?
Yeah.
And then when the two tracks work together to time it out, where they
Yes, indeed.
fans and amazingly drivers, I'm still surprised that worked out, could do both of them. Yes, they're a little spoiled. And I've said before, I'm not a big fan of day shows.
Right.
I think it's tough, but I think Pennsylvania does it for a reason. I mean, typically they're not having this nice 70-degree weather, at night or these warm nights that they've been having. So you have a day show. You don't have to battle the coldness, the chilly weather as much. More people come out. Well, luckily it worked out well for both tracks
You
this
mentioned
weekend.
more people come out. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago with Lincoln. Their season opener was just wall to wall. The Saturday night at Port, they were calling it fair-like crowd or Tuscarora
amazing.
50-like crowd for the opening night. And you're right. They were blessed with beautiful weather this spring. Lincoln's 3 for 3.
And honestly, I think everywhere you look in the country right now, we're having an incredibly mild spring. Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Hopefully
It continues,
and
other
this
areas.
isn't like setting us up, to say like, oh, you guys were so lucky early. But I think everyone just kind of has spring fever right now and wants to get out. And if there's a race in your backyard, what better way to spend a night out?
It is going to be good. It is going to be good. And let's hope the fine weather stays with us on race weekends along the way. One news item, Kendra, we received, and we'll get into the results and everything from out of Tulare, but we found this out yesterday on his birthday. Joey Saldana celebrated by going to the doctor and getting an x-ray, and he broke this finger.
We won't show you.
Yeah, this one right here. We're on our YouTube channel. If you're not following along on YouTube, you can't see I'm pointing to my middle finger, but I'm not sticking up my middle finger as I point to the camera. But my God, Joey Saldana, we talked to him last week on MAV TV, and broke his finger in a crash out at Tulare.
Yeah, I mean, luckily you don't necessarily need that finger to get things done.
With the car performing and everything like that. You may need it to express an opinion.
Well, you have another one.
Okay,
you
that's
have
good.
the left middle finger, which we've been told is the better one for
yes, indeed.
for showing your displeasure in a sprint car. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like poor Joey. We talk about everything's going right for me. He's like, well, another injury here. But luckily, this is not one that's going to keep him out of the car by any means.
No doubt about it. Let's look at the Valco Racing Wheels results page. The World of Outlaw Craftsman Sprint Cars. They were scheduled for 2 out at Thunderbolt Raceway, co-sanctioned with the King of the West Series. Friday night was rained out. Saturday night, David Gravel, who we'll talk to in a little bit, over Shane Stewart, Willie Croft, Brad Sweet, and Sammy Swindell. Gravel's first win of the season, first win with CJB Racing, and his first win since the National Open in 2014. I kind of forgot, but David went winless last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those off years for him where he just really struggled to put things together. And like I said earlier, we talked about how well and how consistent he's been running so far this year. We knew a win would happen soon. He proved us right away.
But the big news was not who was racing, who was not racing. Donnie Schatz, DNQ, the first time since the World Finals in 2012 that he's failed to qualify for a World of Outlaw race.
I mean, I mean, this is really big news, and I think what really changed this is the new provisional rule
No doubt.
that the World of Outlaws put in place this year. And this was after a lot of conversation from drivers last year that basically said, we don't think someone should finish higher in points than someone who's never used a provisional all year.
Right.
You know, if someone used what is it, like 8
There are
provisionals,
provisionals,
you get,
yeah.
and that propels them higher in points than someone who made the show outright every single night. That's a little off kilter. So the World of Outlaws did change the rule this year. So if you use a provisional, you cannot gain any points.
Right.
You basically get show-up points only, which you've already gotten throughout the night. So the only way to gain points is to make the show outright through your heat
And
race.
it's going to be interesting to see. And Schatz is obviously the big name there. But, I mean, no offense to Darren or Brad or other guys, you're going to find throughout the year that you're going to be, do we use a provisional for no points or not? And we very well may see this with other drivers throughout the year. Donnie just stands out because, well, he's Donnie Schatz.
He's Donnie Schatz. And this is just really unheard of. And I think what is more surprising to me than maybe not making the show, although it goes hand in hand, is he started 7th in the B main and only made up 1 spot.
Right.
That's very un-Donnie-like. The track was extremely heavy.
Narrow track, exactly.
Very hard to pass on. So I think that comes into play. But, you know, we kind of treat Donnie like the superhero. You know, he's Superman. He gets things done and can pass when no one else can. Unfortunately, that wasn't the state of affairs on Saturday night.
Throw it in with strong California cars, 39 cars total, and it's a recipe for this to happen. And it will happen to the other top stars of the World of Outlaws.
I mean,
where
you
they'll
look
decide,
at when we go to Williamsgrove or Central Pennsylvania, when we race in Ohio, when they go to Knoxville. I mean, there's going to be nights where all these guys, there's tougher than others to make it.
Absolutely.
We knew California would be one of those tough swings for them. Just surprisingly, that this is who it affected.
Right, exactly. So stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting year, that's for sure. Central Pennsylvania, it started off with the fabulous Lincoln Speedway, where Billy Dietrich, Danny's older brother, scored the win. Glendon Forsythe and Brian Monteith were the top 3. And Billy got out of the car and proclaimed Danny who?
Oh!
It's brothers right there.
That is throwing down the gauntlet.
We'll talk to Danny about that. And I know that, you know, it's like we just had someone on our Twitter machine say you should be talking to Billy. And no doubt we should be talking to Billy. We have a 1-hour show. But the thing with Danny is Danny doing the double. And Williamsgrove preview is what we want to talk to Danny about. But Danny finished 5th, by the way.
Yeah.
So he was all right.
Well, I mean, really, Danny had to get out in 15 minutes. So I
That's
don't know
right.
if
He
he would have
couldn't do
won. He
victory
probably
lane.
couldn't have done it.
Sorry, Wayne.
Gotta go.
Sorry, Wayne. That's Wayne Harper. I'm not talking to you. I got to go to the port. I got to go to the Speed Palace. And when they arrived at the Speed Palace, oh, by the way, Danny did lead for a while. But Greg Hodnett picked up the win over TJ Stutz and Mike Wagner. And Hodnett. Here we go again. It's just,
But big night at Port with Mike Erdley.
Right, big crash up there, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but a big crash up there with Mike Erdley, fire, and just a big crash. And my understanding is the Port, which it's called the Speed Palace, I know, early season, a lot of moisture in the racetrack. It was bad fast.
Yeah.
And so we had some drivers brake while leading. Dietrich had a tire go down. Lucas Wolf snapped the right rear off the car. You know, so I mean, the speed at Port is just phenomenal. And you take an early season night race, they were hauling the mail around there. Sadly, I'm at a big crash. Mike Erdley, fortunately, the good news is he's all right.
Okay.
And, well, like I said, we'll talk a little bit about that more, but it was a big night at the Port, but huge crowd, as we mentioned. And other winners, hey, how about this? I had a chance on Saturday night. I went to Canyon Raceway out in Canyon Speedway out near Phoenix. The Carlisle Tools ASCS Southwest region. Logan Foiler made it 2 for 2. Race number 2 of the 20 race season for them, but it was just a great night out at the racetrack. Broke out my Periscope machine. Had fun with that. And you know, Kendra, love getting to the racetrack, and it was just so much fun getting out there at Canyon Speedway. A lot of good things happening in Phoenix, a lot of good things happening with that region. Across the board, ASCS, a lot of good things, but that region seems to be one that's really growing. First 2 nights, they've had 27 and 24 cars. A couple of years ago, they were happy to get a dozen cars out there.
Yeah, it's really growing. I mean, and we talked about it before about the heritage and the history of that area of the country. Really heavy with USAC and non-wing racing, but sprint car racing as a whole, that's a really hotbed of racing. So it's good to see it growing again.
And speaking of that history and heritage, Ricky Hood, Hall of Famer, NASCAR, National Sprint Car Hall of Fame inductee, Ricky Hood, who has umpteen zillion wins in USAC racing. he's got a wing on top now and running with the Lucas Oil ASCS Southwest Tour. So good stuff. And we'll talk to Logan Foiler, actually, on our weekend preview presented by Hefner Racing Tires. That is the Valco Racing Wheels results page. Valco Racing Wheels, made by racers for racers. www.valco, V-A-H-L-C-O, that's VAHLCO.com. When we come back, the winner of Saturday night's World of Outlaw Craftsman Sprint Car Series A-Main, David Gravel, joins us next.
I'm Danny Holcraver, and you're listening to Wing Nation on MotorRacingNetwork.com.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Break Deals event. Take advantage of O'Reilly's Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The 25th year of the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series is about to begin.
Expanded national and regional tours, over 150 events across the United States, and some of sprint car racing's biggest names and rising stars.
The 25th anniversary of the Lucas Oil ASCS is one you don't want to miss. Find out when the American Sprint Car Series is near you in 2016 at ASCSRacing.com. Find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter,
and get all the action away from the track live at RacingBoys.com.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gordon. Did you know that 43 children are diagnosed with cancer each and every day? That more children die from cancer than any other disease? Athletes of all ages are dedicating their stats to change these stats, and you can too. Visit JeffGordonChildren'sFoundation.org to become a Kick It champion. No matter what sport, you can use your points, laps, or goals to change the odds for kids with cancer. Make your stats really count. Become a Kick It champion.
You're listening to Winged Nation on MRN.com. Now here's Steve and Kendra.
We are having so much fun here on MRN Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires. So glad that you've joined us here on MRN.com, on the MRN app, on our YouTube channel. Oh, we've got you covered.
We're everywhere, Steve.
We're everywhere.
How did that
We're
happen?
everywhere. I don't know. We just keep our head down and let it all take place and let it all happen. And we're having a blast with it. We really are. But we're not having nearly as much fun as our first guest. He joins us on the Hercules Hotline. He is on the Classic Inc. pole position, driver of that CJB number 5 car. David Gravel's on the line. Hello, David. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
We are doing fantastic, but I'm not sure we're doing as well as you are. Congratulations, young man, on that win Saturday night. Just had to be a special night for you to get that one knocked out at that point.
Yeah, it's awesome to win with a new team like that, and Tulare is always a little special and kind of has a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah, everyone talks about how awesome this racetrack is. What is so great about Tulare?
I don't know. I think it's like just the Trophy Cup and kind of California guys loving that place, and it just has a lot of buzz and a lot of love.
No, it does. It's very, very popular. We hear that across the board with it. David, you mentioned, and I think I mentioned to you in the opening, this is your first year with the CJB team with Barry Jackson and everyone on the team. As you guys kind of mesh and put this together, how important is to get a win? And so you're not sitting there in July and August with everyone asking, when are you going to? How important is it for you to knock this out and now work on the second one?
Very important. Last year I didn't win an Outlaw show at all, so definitely good for my confidence and the team's confidence to get a win. So definitely a huge relief, and you just go out again and try to get another one and see what happens.
When you start a new team, it is all different personalities learning how to work together. How did you kind of get over that hump? Was there some off season? Did you go out and spend time with Barry and the crew guys, or did it really start when you guys got to Florida?
Well, I'm really lucky that this team is the closest team to where I live, which isn't close to really any dirt track racing. So I got to go to the shop, I believe, 4 times in the off season, and spend some time with the guys and help them get ready for the season. So, that was good. But I knew everybody a good amount. Not I would say best friends with everybody, but now being together for a couple months, we're just meshing every day and trying to get better every day.
This is a question I've asked other drivers who have driven for Barry. How intense is he?
He's an intense guy. He's very passionate. He puts attention to detail to everything, and once one little thing goes wrong, he shows emotion and passion. So he's got a short wick, but that just shows how much he cares and how well he wants to do.
Yeah, in times like that, what is the best way? Do you go and talk to him, or do you just walk away and you let it kind of like die out before you address what the issue was?
I feel like I'm always smiling, trying to maybe say a joke, or I just smile and laugh just because he gets worked up, and a couple minutes later he's just fine. So you just let it blow by and go from there.
But is it every driver's dream to have a guy like that in your corner? I mean, we've talked to Donnie Schatz about the passion. We've talked to Donnie and Ricky Warner, and I know this is the model team, and we always go back to this. But when you talk to them about each other, it's like, I want that guy to have my back. I want that guy setting up my car. I want that guy wheeling my car. Is this every driver's dream to have someone with the knowledge and the passion like Barry calling the shots?
Definitely. Going into the season, he wasn't really going to be with me full time, but after we got some races in and all that, now I think he's going to be with me full time, and that was definitely a huge confidence booster. After I got that news, we would run second and first. So, sometimes it's psychological things, but he's one of the best out there, and proves with how well he ran with Paul, and just looking at the team. It's always looking good, clean, and typically their cars are always fast.
Something with Steve and I have been talking about on the show is how consistent you've been since day one when Florida started. When you start the season off so consistently and you're not kind of working from behind the eight ball, do your goals kind of shift? Is the way you approach each night, does it shift when you're consistently inside the top 10?
No, I don't think so. It's still so early in the season. You just want to go out and win races and get some podiums. But our season started off with the nozzle line getting knocked off, and I didn't even complete a lap and finished 24th. So that was a little bit of a bummer to start the World of Outlaws season. But it's a long, long season, and we'll just do what we could do every night and just try to make the best out of every night. If for some reason we don't qualify good, we just got to focus on making the best out of that night and go from there.
We've heard different reactions and opinions on the new format that the World of Outlaws have adopted for this year. How do you feel about this format change?
Well, if you're a good qualifier, you love it. If you're a bad qualifier, you might hate it. But I like that we're actually racing in the heat races, not riding around where if you weren't going to be in the top two in the heat, third through fifth to transfer, it didn't really matter. So now you're actually racing for position in the heat race, which I think will promote better racing, but I can't complain about it. This team has always qualified well, and I would think I'm a pretty decent qualifier too, so I'm looking forward to it.
In Victory Lane on Saturday night at Tulare, you talked about being aggressive at certain times and being passive at certain times. Is that a sense? Is the thing of it is, David, we watch these races, but we're sitting in the stands watching these races, so we see Willie Croft or Shane Stewart or someone diving in on you, and we're like, we need to go, David, or we know the gaps, we know the distance, we have this different perspective than you do. Is aggressive versus passive on especially a track like that where passing lap cars was a challenge? Is it a sense? Is it a feeling? How do you decide how you hustle the car when you're out in the lead like that?
Yeah, I guess it's a sense. It's one of those things, hopefully your timing's right and you have a feeling that, hey, I have a little bit of a gap here, so, let me try to make a different move. Or, I got to go and pass his lap car or I'm going to get passed. So it's one of those things that you just, you go off feel, I guess. That track was so heavy. If you drove too aggressive, you could easily started bouncing and wash up the racetrack or flipped, So I just didn't want to do anything, stupid and just make the right decisions. Leading all those laps, coming into the closing laps, you don't want to throw a win away. And I was just trying to run the, kind of the line where I didn't think anybody could pass me, and just try not to slip up.
You guys are on this long West Coast section of your schedule right now. Are you going back and forth home during this when you have these weeks kind of off, or are you spending some time out in California?
I'm in California now. I don't know how some of these guys save any money flying back every week, having families and all that. It gets expensive. But, I'll be flying home for when we have Easter weekend off. And I don't typically go home too much. But, again, I don't have a wife and kids or any of that. So I have a girlfriend and a family and dogs I like to see. But, it's one of those things that I'm a little cheap, so I try to save my money.
Nothing wrong with that, David. Nothing wrong with that. Keep doing like you're doing on Saturday night, and money is going to take care of itself as well. Congratulations on that win. We're so happy for you from the racing hotbed of the sprint car hotbed of the world, Connecticut. We're so happy for you picking up that win. We were so excited when you had this opportunity with the CJB team, and I just think that this is the first of some great things to come. But congratulations on that success, and I know we'll talk to you throughout the season.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
There we go.
Talk to you again.
I know we will, David. I know we will. That is David Gravel, driver of that CJB number 5 car for Chad and Jen Clemens on the Classic Ink pole position. Classic Ink screen printing and embroidery. Great T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, towels, hats. You name it, they have it. More than just racing for corporate events and other sporting events. You can find out more at ClassicInkUSA.com. That's www.ClassicInkUSA.com. Good for David. Great for David.
Great, and I don't think that's like a one-and-done thing. I think we're going to see many wins out of him.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be a great season for David Gravel.
And look at some of the places where he's won in the past. He won a Knoxville Nationals preliminary night.
That's right.
The Williams Grove National Open.
Yeah.
He is talented at tracks where it's very tough to win at.
Yes, he
so
is.
now that he's got this team under him and they've got this consistency and Barry Jackson in his corner, he's going to be tough.
It's going to be really good, that's for sure. We need to step away. When we come back, Double D. Danny Dietrich joins us about the double and all kinds of great things in Pennsylvania. Danny joins us next.
Hi, I'm Kyle Larson, and you're listening to Wing Nation on MotorRacingNetwork.com.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville, Iowa.
Honoring sprint car racing's greatest achievers.
25 historic sprint cars on display. A movie theater featuring sprint car racing films. And a breathtaking view of historic Knoxville Raceway. Go to SprintCarStuff.com for the largest sprint car gift shop on the planet. The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville, Iowa.
Aggressive Hydraulics, where we engineer the cylinders that move your business. We specialize in crafting hydraulic cylinders and components with superior precision and performance, making OEM products stronger and creating more opportunities for distributors and repair facilities. Crafting cylinders that operate on a global basis in a wide variety of industries and applications. Get aggressive with your cylinder challenges. Aggressive Hydraulics.
Classic Ink USA Screen Printing and Embroidery is constantly testing the limits of custom racewear and specialized embroidery. Headquartered in Western Pennsylvania, Classic Ink holds the highest standard, maximizing your return as well as the ultimate customer satisfaction. From track swag fanwear to quick crew crewwear, Classic Ink has you covered. Their dedicated staff and designers will keep your race team and fans looking sharp. Contact Classic Ink today and get your team ahead of the competition. www.ClassicInkUSA.com. That's Classic Ink, at the track and on your back.
I'm Craig Kinzer, now back to Wing Nation with Steve and Kendra.
Thank you, Craig. We are having a great time, and we are so glad that you joined us here on Wing Nation. We talked about this in the opening of the show, that the race fans, we do our Tweet Your Seat Tweet of the Week over on our MAV TV show, and race fans in Central Pennsylvania tend to be really good with that. They blew up our Twitter machine. We had to get a new Twitter machine with the double on Saturday, and much of the attention focused around Danny Dietrich, who joins us on the Hercules Tire Hotline. He drives the Sandos Fruit Market, number 48 car. Hello, Danny. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
Hello. How are you guys today?
We are well. The double on Saturday, let's set aside a fifth-place run at Lincoln, leading at Port when you had a tire problem, okay? Let's set aside the on-track stuff, the off-track stuff. How much fun did you have with it, the lead-up to it, the talk about it, the getting there? What was that like?
We just kind of prepared like it wasn't, like we weren't doing it. You know, we worried about going to Lincoln first. You know, surprisingly, none of the guys in the crew even really said anything about going to port the whole time we were racing at Lincoln. So that was kind of nice that we were able to focus on the event at Lincoln before we had to worry about going up the road.
I would think, though, you had to have some kind of plan in place because most race teams do not load up when in like 5 minutes and they hit the road. You guys must have talked about it at some point of this process of loading up after Lincoln's going to have to be done very quickly.
Yeah, we didn't take a four-wheeler with us to the track to Lincoln and kind of just had some stuff already sitting in the trailer where it was already put away, the stuff we were going to need to go to Port Royal. So really, I mean, we didn't have a whole lot to load up other than a couple tires and some air lines and putting the railing down, So basically, we got back to the trailer. Me and Jake actually took the time to discuss the car a little bit, made some notes, and loaded it right up in the trailer. I told there were some guys starting to scrape some mud. I said it'll fall off on the way to the track. So we pushed it in the box and then backed her out and headed up the road.
The caravan there, the ride up to Port Royal, I know that social media was abuzz with it. I know one of your biggest fans, Linda Cook from up in New Hampshire, she was right behind you, tucked in line. Any close calls? You didn't have any brush-ups with the law or anything like that? You made it all right?
No. Luckily, I think when we went past all the cops, we were in some traffic or just getting on a highway. So other than that, we were in the clear, luckily, because they definitely could have nabbed us a couple different spots for going pretty good up the road.
So when you got to port, how much time did you actually have before you had to be on track?
We had plenty of time. We actually got there about probably 5-10 minutes before the driver's meeting. I want to say we got there about 10 of 5. Driver's meeting was at 5, so we got pulled in. We were unloaded whenever they were calling for the driver's meeting. So we just missed pill draw by about 5. We didn't really miss it. I had Aaron not draw for me, but we would have actually made it for pill draw. But we just missed it by 5 minutes. So we made some good time. Make it from Lincoln to Port Royal in an hour and a half counting traffic is definitely cruising along pretty good, and got lucky enough that we didn't get stuck in anything that was too major as far as traffic goes.
Did you have like a victory lane plan? There was someone on Twitter that said, how are you going to, if you win and you have to go to victory lane and do all of that, how are you going to make it in time? Was there just kind of an idea of like, well, we're just going to skip victory lane and get to the next track?
No, we had to get to that point first.
Yeah.
It's one of the things where we're a lot of people expect a lot out of us when it comes to daytime shows at Lincoln. And I'll be honest with you, we just don't have a very good track record for the single division shows at Lincoln in the daytime surface. It just doesn't really suit me or Jake's style of driving and setting a car up. And we'd have to start pretty far forward, I would say, on a daytime surface like that for us to, in my opinion, have a really good shot at winning. Just we rely on the track getting dry and having wheel spin down the straightaways, for us to kind of shine. That kind of goes for anywhere. We've never been a heavy hitter on a big track where it's wet or a small track when it's wet. So we went there hoping to get through, get a top 5 and then go to port and have a better shot at winning, which kind of was the case, but just didn't work out.
Well, indeed. Read in some of your post-race comments, new Maxim chassis this year that you're working with. When you go with something like that, in layman's terms, Danny, how different is it when you go with a new chassis like you've brought out this year?
It's a pretty big difference for us. We're working with Dan and Ron out of Maxim pretty hard to build a car that's a taller cage area, so that way we can fit some big guys in it. Like myself, where before I didn't have hardly any room above my head if you laid a straight edge across the top of the cage. And my as long as my torso is, I had a lot of trouble with my torque tube hitting the seat of my during racing. You know what I mean? Not even getting in a crash. I got marks on the torque tube just from racing. It's just not a real comfortable thing. It's probably as everybody's been looking at lately, that's probably my biggest fear as far as getting in an accident and getting hurt in that area, and we're trying to get my seat up a little bit higher, trying to get the cage taller. So it's a brand new car that Dan and Ron have really put together, and we've worked really hard to build it to the point where there shouldn't be too much to change on it, but there's definitely some change, and we're working with them, and they're working with us. We're learning with it. We're having trouble keeping the front wheels on the ground, which is usually a good thing. When the track gets dry, we want to be able to get some traction. So I think we're going to be okay as soon as the track dries out.
Danny, one thing I've always appreciated about you is that you really take into account the safety aspect of the sport, and you're very outspoken about rule changes in the sport and the safety side. Going into this season, do you feel like the things you've been concerned about have been addressed across the board?
Yeah, I mean, as much as it can be, there's always going to be things that everybody's going to have a different opinion on, and that's a definite thing. As long as we try and keep everybody as safe as we can within limits, that's all the more I guess we can ask for. I guess one thing I know a lot of people still aren't in favor of is the tethers, but they're here to stay, I guess, and we're going to have to run them. Whether the driver likes them or the fans like them, it's just that's something that's going to stay. Hopefully we get something along the lines. Down in Australia, you have a head height requirement, where you got to have your head so far underneath the cage. I guess they're talking about maybe having a rule as far as where your seat has to come off the bottom of the rails. I'm not sure, but I know they have a head height requirement. That's another reason why we build a new car like this is just so that way, there's a safer car for guys to run down there that they can pass tech through.
Fascinating stuff. It really is. When we think about guys that are taller like you, like a Dale Blaney, and it's a different world than it is for a normal
David
size.
Gravel.
Well, a David Gravel, exactly. Shane Stewart, Joey Saldana, and it's fascinating stuff. It really is, and it's amazing the amount of energy that you guys are putting into it. And it's great the amount of energy you're putting into it. And I know this coming weekend, the Williams Grove opener on Friday night. Danny, expectations for this Friday, getting back to the Grove. Got to be a lot of excitement up in Pennsylvania when the Grove opens up.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. There's been a lot of talk of other stuff in the Pennsylvania area, but it's always good when we can get back to going 2 nights a week racing. We got our day shows out of the way, and a lot of people have learned stuff about whatever they've changed over the off season, and it'd be nice to get back to running some dry slick racetracks, around here. Usually the Grove opens up the season with a nice slick racetrack if we're lucky enough. That's how it's been the last few years, and it puts on the best racing, so hopefully the fans show up and we can put a good show on for them.
So what else are people talking about in Pennsylvania?
There's a lot of stuff going on, just with things like Susquehanna and there's going to be a race, a 410 race at Trailway Speedway, and the big Weichert Memorial, the whole Memorial Day weekend. That's a pretty big event coming up. It's really not that far away, so there's a lot of good things coming early in the season. We start 3 night a week racing the second weekend of April. So
oh my God!
If you look at a driver like myself or Hodnett's schedule, we start racing 3 nights a week starting. I think it's April 10th. Susky has their first show, and then the following week starts Bedford, and I think Path Valley, and there are Sunday shows. And it creates a lot of attention, especially this early in the season. Usually we don't get that opportunity until May.
Yeah, and then before you know it, you're going to be in Speed Week.
Yeah, it'll click off. Once we get racing 3 nights a week and we only got 4 days in between or less, it'll click off quick, and next thing you know, it'll be November and ready to go on a vacation, or July and ready to go on a vacation with that mark.
So now I've got to ask from a promoter's point of view now. We've been talking about how all of these opening nights in Pennsylvania, the crowds are just insane. How can other tracks in the country get that same, from your point of view, how can the other tracks get that same kind of energy on opening night?
Just be getting known for having good races, being fan friendly. Port Royal has really, really, really stepped up their game with getting fans to the track, whether it be discount nights or big shows. I mean, the fans in this area are starting to realize that Port Royal alone puts on a lot of big shows, a lot of big money shows for us 410s, and I think they've realized that, and they want to support that too, so Lincoln had a really big opening day, probably the biggest crowd I might have ever seen there, but the last 2 weeks just haven't been the same, and the amount of people that went from Lincoln to Port Royal on Saturday was just a crazy amount of people. I mean, we were going up the road, and everybody you saw was a racing vehicle. I think that's really cool. I know a lot of people just skip Lincoln to go to Port Royal because Port Royal put so much effort into making the facility so much nicer and what they've done up there, and that's good to get the support for people from people that go to the tracks like that.
It is. It's so much excitement up there, and the buzz in Pennsylvania is more races, and more racetracks, and that's a great thing to have up there, especially for guys like you, Danny, that do this on a full-scale basis all the time. We appreciate your time. Best of luck this weekend and on throughout. I know we'll chat with you throughout the year, but thanks for your time joining us here today on Wing Nation.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
There we go. Danny Dietrich joining us here on the program, and just one of the great guys that you can ask him about anything in the sport, and he'll tell you what he thinks, and that's what we've always loved about Double D.
That to me, I appreciate that because it's someone who says, look, this is who I am, and I'm not afraid to say when I have concerns, and his concerns are all valid. You know, I love that he's already thinking about, I hope down the road there's a head height rule. That's something we need to be thinking about. It is a great idea.
Really is. No doubt about it. So always great to catch up with Danny and see what's going on there. Another place that it's great to check in with is the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. They are in the middle of their they're moving forward on their Expand the Dream program. They're making big strides in that, but you can find out more at sprintcarhof.com. We talk about birthdays, and Kendra, we don't have to look at Sunday or Monday. We will talk about some of the other ones, I guess. But today, one of the legends in the sport continues on. The great Danny Smith's birthday is today. You smile, I smile. You walk into pit air and you see Danny Smith, and you're just like, okay, I know I'm at the right place now, because he's that guy. He really is.
And the amazing stat of 41 straight years with a win. I thought he was only like 45 years old, so I don't know how. I guess he started racing sprint cars at the age of 4.
Yeah, I mean, and that's 18 years longer than you've been alive.
Exactly. It's crazy.
It's crazy. The 23-year-old Kendra Jacobs, he's 18 years before Kendra even bounced onto the world. Danny was winning.
Amazing.
Began racing at 16 years old in central Indiana. Big wins include the Little 500 at Anderson, the 1985 Gold Cup Race of Champions out in California. But I am telling you what, when he went down under, he changed the world of sprint car racing. I know we say things like that,
but we
really
did.
The world of sprint car racing is a different world because he was one of the first American drivers to go to Australia, and 6 times he won the Classic down there at Warrnambool, and he is a rock star there. He went there for his final trip this year, sold every T-shirt that could be made. I mean, it's Danny Smith's birthday today, and for that, we're really happy. And the great news is that go to your local racetrack and watch Danny race, because he's continuing on this year. Going to focus on Atomic Speedway with the Ohio Valley, the Ohio Sprint Car Association, I believe, is the new club up there. He's going to do that. He's going to do some all-star races, Knoxville Nationals. But Danny Smith coming to a racetrack near you and looking for 42 years straight of winning races.
Crazy.
That is fantastic. Other birthdays tomorrow: Chet Gardner, Dean Thompson, Andy Granatelli's birthday. He's a 2011 inductee into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. All these stories documented right off turn 2 at the famed Knoxville Raceway at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. Again, information, sprintcarhof.com. That's www.sprintcarhof.com. We need to step away. When we come back, Ed Lynch Jr., the Apollo Rocket. He joins us next.
This is Winged Nation on MRN.com. Steve and Kendra will be right back.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
2 big nights of racing every week at the all-new Jackson Motorplex in Jackson, Minnesota. 3 classes of sprint cars: the NSL 410s, the GoMuddy.com NSL 360s, and the Race Saver 305 sprint cars. Tackle the big half-mile Friday nights starting on May 13 with the Fulkin Brothers Spring Nationals. Be at the all-new Jackson Motorplex every Friday night this summer, and mark your calendars now for the 38th running of the Jackson Nationals, September 2nd through 4th.
O'Reilly. Eventually, it's going to happen. You'll turn the key and your engine won't start. Don't lose your ability to get around. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for a Super Start battery. Whether it's a reliable economy, hard-working premium, or powerful extreme, you'll find it at an everyday low price. Don't let a dead battery slow you down. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's MRN's Winged Nation. Here's Steve and Kendra.
MRN Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tire, rolling along, and we got the news this past week, and not good news. I mean, maybe it's good news for Ed, but not good news for the rest of the world, that the Apollo rocket, Ed Lynch Jr., is going to retire, going to turn the reins over to his son, Cy. We figured we needed to dial Ed up and find out what the detail and what the story is, so he joins us here on the Hercules Tire Hotline. Hello, Ed. Welcome into Wing Nation.
Hello, guys. How are you?
We are well. The decision to retire, how did this all happen? How did this all come about, Ed?
Well, it's pretty easy. It goes down to, it's all money driven, and to do the running as hard as we want to run, as well as we want to run, and everything. It just wasn't making any sense, with no sponsors and doing it out of your own pocket. It was been doing it for years like that, and we enjoyed it. We made our mark in the sport, and it's been a family operation, and that's the way we liked it. That's the way we did it, and we still worked and raced, and that's coming far and few between anymore.
Yeah, when you look at the changes in the sport, you kind of said that's the reason why you're leaving, but your son is going to kind of come in and take over the ride. Do you feel like you've had to prepare him a little differently than when you started your career?
Oh, yes. Things have changed the way you look at anything in an operation, and, he's still underfunded right now. He's looking for an engine right now. He has cars, and we're ready to roll, but looking for an engine. So it's, for him to do it, and we're going to look at first trying to get comfortable at Lernerville for him, because it's only 20 minutes up the road for us, and, it gets you a lot of notoriety, and if you can run well at that place, then you can move on. But we still have some hurdles to cross for that, and but I think he finished 10th in points last year in a car that was a good, safe car, and we appreciated that. So now I think he's ready to move on and update his equipment, and ready to go.
Well, and that's cool, and that kind of answers, we had Twitter questions from Vince, and he was asking about that, the goals for Cy, so we appreciate Vince sending that question in, and appreciate the getting the plan and the goals for Cy going forward. Ed, I want to talk a little bit more about you and your career. I found this fascinating to me. Early in your career, and those of you that are historically minded, and again, I'll qualify that I'm not, and if I know these names, then those of you that know the history of the sport know these names. This boggles my mind. Early in your career, you worked for Grant King, Jack Elam, for Gambler Chassis, for Ron Hutter, for Lynn Geisler, for Earl Gertie, for Paul Kistler, with Target Chip Ganassi Racing. How important was that knowledge that you gained working on motors and chassis, Ed, as you developed your own career? How important was that to your success?
Well, I think it was very important. It definitely gave you a well-rounded view of the way everybody operates. Some people were hands-on only, and some people, were able to delegate work out and figure out how to make it happen with people. So it was different dimensions, different, from Indy cars, NASCAR, and dirt sprint cars. It was good, and we also had modifieds in our family, also. So it's all gonna come out. My mother's putting she runs my website, and she's putting something together about the history and the career of what we've accomplished, in construction and in racing, and then I'll go back to construction again.
So is that the off season? The I hate to use the word retirement because no one likes that word, but is that the plan moving forward? Is to go back to construction, focus on that? But I can't imagine that you're going to stay away from the racetrack.
Well, it's it's hard. I've always kept myself physically fit, and I think when you're physically fit, your mind's operating better, and that's what you need for the agility and the quickness of sprint car racing. And so that's the way I've always kept myself, and that's the way I will always keep myself. But the competitiveness is still there. It's just there's nothing left in the kitty. That's all.
That makes total sense. Now, Mike, Ed, when we look at some of your career numbers, 8 All-Star wins, Don Martin Memorial Silver Cup win back in 2002, more than 100 wins at Lernerville Speedway. But the question I have for you, I mentioned more than 100 wins at Lernerville Speedway, including 3 last year. How important is it for a driver, and we've talked to Donnie Kreitz about this, and he was very proud of the fact, and he was kind of forced retirement with a head injury, but there was a win late in his career that he takes a lot of pride in, and that he was still competitive when the decision was made to retire. How important is that to you that your final season, you're a 3-time winner there at Lernerville?
Well, we did it on our terms, and I wanted to be fast. I didn't want to be running around 10th. I didn't want to be, barely making the field or anything. I wanted to be competitive and forced to be reckoned with anytime I dropped the trailer door. And, we have somewhere between, my mother's coming out with it, we have somewhere between 230 and 240 A-main wins at over 50 racetracks across the country. So for doing it and still holding down a job, and that's about the most you can do.
Yeah, I think that's impressive and such a great career. And you look at that car is so famous. Whenever that car comes out on the track, everyone knows that car and that paint scheme. Will it be the exact same for Cy, or is he going to change it up a bit?
Well, these kids, they like to change everything, so I think he'll change it up a bit to try to make his own, market in racing. But right now they're still checked and they're still the same color. So we have everything ready to go. It's just, we need a few people to come along on board and, help with the engine part of the program. But other than that, I'm ready to race. He thinks I'm going to jump in and race, but I still have the car that we won the dash with at the Silver Cup this year. It only has 2 races on it, and then we had engine trouble, after that. So we were really looking forward to that being the way, kind of like Fred Raymer did. That be the way you say, well, that's good enough. I won another one of those.
Yeah, indeed. Really, really cool. Final question for you, and it's more of a bigger picture question because, Ed, you have so many years of experience and so much knowledge of the sport. You probably have answered it in talking about the challenges that have you in the spot you're in. Sean Might writes in, biggest challenge facing in sprint car racing, just as we look at 2016, is it that dollar and cents thing that just is the biggest challenge we have in the sport right now?
Well, it's the biggest challenge for me geographically to try to run. I always tried to make the race car pay for itself, and to make that happen, you can't run at the purses that are readily available for you around where I live. But if you go 4 hours in any direction, then you can run for the better purses on a regular show on a regular basis. But in order to keep the travel down and still work and do that and try to help yourself, it's just not there in the area. The tracks are famous. Everything's famous. The crowds are good. It's just it's tough for some of these tracks. They try to run a lot of divisions,
Yep.
and when you try to run that many divisions, it really drags out the program and everything else. I kind of liked it at one time Dave Blaney and his mother and the family, they were talking about doing something different at Sharon Speedway that I thought I was in favor of. They wanted to do, say like 3 divisions from 6 o'clock to 8:30. Then they wanted to do 3 divisions from 9 o'clock to 11:30. I thought that would work perfectly, and everybody could still, come home from work, go to the races, do their thing, and then they would switch the divisions, however they wanted to do. So for a local deal, I thought that that would work, and you'd still be able to run your 6 divisions. But I think, I know everybody wants to race and everybody wants to try to race, but sometimes, you can't run NASCAR and IndyCar on the same day at the same track.
Yeah, that's a strong point, and it's particularly interesting in Western Pennsylvania where you have such rich history in the late model tour, in the modifieds, and the sprint cars. It's a challenge there where you're at, I'm sure, and tracks juggling and all of the above. Ed, unfortunately, our time has come to an end here where we need to say goodbye to you as far as this interview goes. We'll look forward to seeing what Cy does on the racetrack and seeing you around the racetrack this year. But thanks for joining us here on Wing Nation.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad you guys are on top of it.
We're on top of it, all right. There you go. That is Ed Lynch Jr. joining us here on the program, announcing his retirement and handing the steering wheel over to his son, Cy. We need to step away. More MRN Wing Nation in just a moment.
I'm Kerry Madsen, and you're listening to Wing Nation on MotorRacingNetwork.com.
Racers, that's who Valco wheels are. That's who they know, and racing is what they know. Valco Wheels focuses oval track and grassroots racing, and understand racers need a quality wheel that fits your budget. With over 25 years experience, Valco Wheels produces the best product and give you face-to-face support and customer service at the track. Fast delivery, innovative products, problem solving. Find Valco Wheels at Valco.com on Twitter or Facebook, or call Valco Wheels at 609-758-7013. Valco Wheels.
The Toyota Racing Team wants to take a quick moment to congratulate Kyle Busch on his 2015 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship that he won in the Camry. Don't worry, this will be as fast as Kyle in his Camry. How fast is Kyle? So fast he's won a ton of races across all NASCAR series. Plus, he's won 133 of Toyota's 332 NASCAR victories. He's even won 38 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series races in the Tundra. And now here he is, wearing the 2015 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship crown. So yeah, Kyle is really fast. We're proud of him and all the folks at Joe Gibbs Racing, whose teamwork made this win possible. Keep those checkered flags waving and take another victory lap in your Camry, Kyle. Good luck to all our drivers in the 2016 season. Head over to ToyotaRacing.com to find more info about the Toyota Racing Team and Kyle's journey to victory. Better get there fast before Kyle wins another race. Let's go NASCAR. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
This is Dale Blaney, and you're listening to Steve Post and Kendra Jacobs on Wing Nation.
Thank you, Dale. Welcome back. It is MRN Wing Nation. It's time to talk about our Jeff Gordon's Kick It Person of the Week. We mentioned this earlier, Kendra. A lot of times we have heartwarming stories. A lot of times we have just feel-good stories, and then we have life-saving stories or potential life-saving stories, and that's what we had during the feature event up at Port Royal on Saturday night. Bad crash. Mike Eardley found himself in a race car that was on fire, but the hammer, Doug Esch, to the rescue, ran in, grabbed Eardley, brought him out of the race car. Tip of the cap is such a cheap thing to say for Doug Esch. Amazing.
And they say it was like an instant reaction. Like he stopped his car and ran, like instant. And
not thinking about it.
It's amazing when that kicks in for people. You know, that I'm in a race car, but I'm stopped. And it sounds like Hodnett paid a pretty big tribute to him too in Victory Lane that night about his actions and doing kind of what no one else was and just stopped.
I've known for years, just the years, and I've joked around about this. I finally talked to Doug Esch, not at the Tilton Hilton. I always talk to Doug Esch at the Tilton Hilton after the races at Williams Grove, and just love those conversations because I genuinely say, man, this is just a good guy. And we had a chance to hang out a little bit in Volusia, and I walked away from him saying, man, this is just genuinely a good guy. And when you see something like this, it just validates your whole thought about him. So congratulations to Doug Esch, our Kick It Person of the Week this week, and for doing that. And you can submit your we did driver of the week, and sometimes it is a driver, but we're doing person of the week. So there's someone at your track, someone that's involved in the sport that is doing something good for kids, doing something good for fellow racers, doing something good like this. Send it in, wingnation@aol.com, wingnation@aol.com, and this week we're honoring Doug Esch on that. Kendra, it's a big weekend coming up. World of Outlaw Craftsman Sprint Cars Friday and Saturday night. Stockton Dirt Track for the FVP Western Spring Shootout. Last year's winners, Donnie Schatz, Rico Abreu. This was the one, I think, last year where, remember, the scoring line was down the racetrack.
Oh, that's right.
Schatz and Shane Stewart came side by side, and Schatz won by a narrow margin.
Stewart was leading at the
flag stand,
but
the
Schatz
scoring
led
line was
like
further
10
down.
feet later. Yeah, that was a crazy, I mean, just a big debacle, really, on the internet
Yeah.
where no one could figure out who won. So that was interesting. I don't know if that's going to be the same case this
We
year.
know where it's at now. We know where the scoring line is now.
It is.
That's for sure, but big one last year. Also want to mention on Thursday, if you're out there in the Patterson, California area, our guy Greg Wilson going to have a Hercules Tire store visit, Patterson Tire Pros in Patterson, California, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Big weekend for the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour presented by MAV TV, American Reel. Thursday night, Heart of Texas Speedway in Waco. It is the first tour race at Heart of Texas Speedway. Friday and Saturday night, it is the 84th and 85th tour races at the famed Devil's Bowl Speedway in Mesquite, Texas. So a big 3-night weekend for the ASCS National Tour. All 3 nights going to be taped by MAV TV. All 3 nights going to be on racinboys.com. And let's hope for better weather than they've had in the past year and a half and that they can get it fired up and going.
You just got me singing Deep in the Heart.
Deep in the heart of Texas. That's right. So, hey, maybe we need Kendra to sing the opening on the MAV
how about
TV.
no? How about no singing? But in Pennsylvania.
Yes, Williams
There
Grove,
might
the
not be
season
singing, but I
opener.
bet there'll be some
There'll be some drinking going on up in turn number 3, Beer Hill.
And the more they drink, the more they
beer. That's right.
the
Absolutely.
more they drink, the more they'll sing.
That's right. They will be singing. Absolutely. Williams Grove season opener Friday night. Batten down the hatches of the Twitter
When
machine
does
again.
Beer Hill officially open?
That's a good question.
Yeah, like when can you actually
Today.
get on Beer
Tuesday.
Hill and
Today.
stake your claim? Like, this is my spot.
Put your ladder up if
The
you're in the back
ladders,
row.
yeah,
Exactly. Then Lincoln, week number 4. Port Royal, week number 2. Also, Carlisle Tool ASCS Southwest Tour. They're continuing on at Arizona Speedway. The Eagle Jet Top Guns are at East Bay. And Kendra, we've talked so much about this. Region after region after region coming online. Next weekend, Ohio coming online with Attica Friday night and Atomic on Saturday night. Next weekend also the GoMuddy.com National Sprint League 360 Tour. They're at I-81 Speedway in Park City, Kansas. So I know everyone in 360 land in the Midwest is anxious about what's going to happen this year with some dueling series out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the GoMuddy.com NSL 360 Tour, they kick off next week in Park City, Kansas. And stepping back to your home state, Ohio, nothing better than opening night at Attica.
No, and I know there's been some controversy in Ohio lately. We saw the news.
Yeah, how about that with Fremont and
Speedway
All-Stars
not,
going in different directions?
running any All-Star races this year, which is interesting. Breaking
Yes.
news from the All-Stars, and they basically just said that the track and the series has different visions.
They both
for
agree
where
that they have a different
want
vision.
410 racing to go in the state, and sounds like the fans are the ones that kind of miss out on this deal.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it is.
hopefully, that
Ultimately-
whatever the opinions are can match up again at some point.
At some point down the road, but they've rescheduled. Everyone's rescheduled races against it. So
yeah, it sounds like
is what
Wayne
it is.
County Speedway got a big race out of it, so that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
no, I'm really excited about that. That's the
That's your
track my family built.
I'm hoping. You know what? I think I may get there this year. I'm working on that.
I'm hoping to get there for the Pete Jacobs Memorial, which would be my
Wow,
grandfather
yes,
or
indeed.
great-grandfather Pete. So
Yeah.
hoping to make it home. I think that's September 4th.
Wow, that'd
I'm
be cool.
hoping to get home for that one if I can.
I'm working on a weekend in Ohio, so I'm hoping to make that happen.
Steve, I have some friends in Ohio that can fill you in,
My
get you where you
people.
need to be.
I got my people working on it. That's for sure.
Well, have your people call my people.
Yeah, exactly. So that's you and I talking, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because we don't have people. Yeah, that's right. MRN Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit on MAV TV on Saturday. Bud Kading.
The famous Katie.
Yes, Bud Kading joins us. That's at 9:30 and 12:30 Eastern Time. Wing Nation Weekend presented by Hefner Racing Products on Thursday. Logan Forler, who has been on fire out west, he's moving east to Texas to tackle the ASCS National Tour. So Logan Forler going to join us on the podcast on Thursday afternoon. Great chatting with David Gravel. We're so happy for young David getting the win there. Danny Dietrich, you never can go wrong, and what a great career for Ed Lynch. It's been a great show today.
Today was a great show. We kind of got all age groups from all areas. It's good to see such passion.
Good to see such passion and excitement, no doubt about it. You can follow along with us on our Twitter machine at Wing Nation. All the latest sprint car and racing news at MRN.com. Thank you for joining us on MRN Wing Nation by Hercules Tire.
You've been listening to the nation's premier winged sprint car radio program, Winged Nation. Tune in next Tuesday at noon for more talk from the dirt tracks. Winged Nation is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. Winged Nation is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.